Good morning, everyone. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. This is our fourth season, all right, of P.I.L.L Method Live. And today we're going to go over the first letter in P.I.L.L Method, which is the P, prepayment of principal. Now, even though I really do believe you're going to like what you hear today, the other three letters are more powerful than this one. So I need, okay, I had an echo. All right. So listen, the other four letters are more powerful than this one. The other three letters, the I, the L, and the L. This one is understanding what happens when you pay back a loan is vital. Too much information is out there on how to get funding, how to get a loan, how to make sure that your credit score and your credit profile are in shape so that you can get the loans that you're looking for. No information, no credible information, no good information, no information that is designed to help you is out there to pay the loans back, because nobody is teaching how the loans are set up in the first place, how amortization actually works, the formula that the bank uses. These things are not being taught. And since they're not being taught, the information that we receive on how it's supposed to work and how we're to pay them back is lacking. So because that information is lacking, we pay 75 to 80% more interest than we need to on these loans. And that is the problem that has always been the problem for us. But it is exactly why people who invest in mortgages do what they do. It is because we do not understand where the weaknesses lie. And because we don't understand where the weaknesses lie, they make money. And I mean a lot of it. So what we're going to do today is go over prepayment of principal and why it is important. Okay. So we're going to, I'm going to put up the thumbnail for today, and then we're going to get into our show of prepayment of principal. I think you're going to like it. All right. So let's get started with our intro music. All right, let's go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And we have an exciting show today. And we're starting with the P of P.I.L.L Method, which is prepayment of principal. Now, it sounds easy. It sounds like we should understand that, if I want to pay back a loan, and if I want to pay it off fast or early, I just want to give them more money than what payment is due that month. So if your minimum payment is due, or you just pay more money, all right, and then you get done with the loan early. Well, it's way more than that. Way more than that. Do you know how much time and how much effort and how much math goes into the idea of lending the money? Lending money is huge business. I mean, huge. When you do the study on how much credit card debt there is, how much debt there is when on car loans and mortgages, and how this whole thing works, this is the only show that goes over that. So let me bring some people up. All right. Listen, I got Ken here this morning. Ken is back. Ken, how are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, Ken, you're kind of muffled there. Are you using Bluetooth?
Is it better? No, I'm not using a Bluetooth.
You might have to go out and come back in because your sound is not good. Because your sound is usually excellent. All right. So we're going to see if we can get him to come out, go back in, come back in. Listen, folks, come on stage. If you're in Clubhouse, come up and let's talk this morning so that you can learn everything that you didn't learn in school about how lending works. Okay. So right now I'm going to be putting on the screen how this should work, what it should look like. Okay. And let's see here, we're going to share this screen. There we go. All right. And listen, I want to show you this. Okay. Here it is. Watch this. Okay. This is a $400,000 loan, but we don't want to talk about that right now. We want to bring this up. Let me show you this. Let me show you some things here. Go to the link you see in the chat. All right. Go to YouTube, or you can go to YouTube and search for P.I.L.L method, or you can go to LinkedIn or Facebook and search for P.I.L.L method. All right. And you can see what I have on the screen. I have $1 million worth of loans here. I've got 2 mortgages, 3 other loans, 12 credit cards, all adding up to over $1 million in debt. And because of that, the bank wants $692,000 in interest on this debt. And the way that it's set up, if we make our payments on time, we will get a good credit score and everybody will be happy, but we will pay a lot more interest than we need to. In fact, we're going to show this family how to pay only $179,000 in interest instead of $692,000 in interest. Folks, that's over $500,000 they will not have to pay in interest. Over $500,000, $512,000 they don't need to pay. That's cutting their interest cost, not their interest rate. That's cutting their interest cost by 74%. And instead of 36 years to pay off all of this debt, it's only going to take them 9. Now, what is going on in our lending system where it can be figured out that we can pay 74% less interest than the bank is asking for? How do we do that? How does that happen? Okay, 74% less. And not only that, but look at this, 36 years that they will be paying off their debt. Oh, but when you understand what's going on and you have the correct tools, you can pay everything off in 9. And I need you to understand this. Get this right now. To pay off debt early, okay? To pay off debt early, it doesn't mean you have to ruin your lifestyle. It doesn't mean you have to throw all of your money at the debt and live like a pauper and not have a great lifestyle. No. To pay off debt early means you just pay less interest. And you can do that with your current budget. You don't need more money. The same budget that you qualified for the loans is the same budget you can use to automatically and efficiently pay the bank less interest than they're looking for. All you have to do is find out when to give them the money that you borrowed. When do you give it to them? And in what increments? How much do you give them? And when do you give it to them to make it impossible for them to charge you all of that interest? Did you know you can make it impossible? Ken, how are you sounding right now, buddy? Come off mic there and talk to me so we can see. Ken, are you there?
Yes, sir. Is it better?
Nope. Still kind of muffled. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I'm glad you're here today. Where are you from anyway, Ken?
Chicago.
Chicago. All right. My wife used to teach in Chicago. All right. Anyway, listen, I'm going over today the P in pill method, and I need you all to understand what happens when banks lend money. Okay. Last week we went over the history. And in 1936 was the first self-amortizing loan. All right. And it was set up so that these loans can be sold on a secondary market to investors. Now, when you're selling something to investors, what are you selling them? The idea of that they can make money on their money. Okay. So let me show you a particular loan that an investor would buy. Here is, now, if you want to see this, make sure that you're going to Zoom. Make sure, I'm sorry, make sure you're going to YouTube. Make sure you're watching this on Facebook. And to all my folks that are watching us already on Facebook and LinkedIn and on YouTube, please go ahead and say something in the comments. All right. And say good morning. Tell us where you're watching this from. And I see we have people in here already. But here's what I need you to see. Here's a $400,000 loan. The interest rates are beginning to drop, ladies and gentlemen. And the interest rate here is 6.5%. Now, the payment is $2,528.27. The first thing that you need to understand about paying back a mortgage or any other loan is that when you make the minimum payment, a portion of the payment it is accounted. Okay, I see you, Juanita Scott. Okay. All right. I see you from Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. All right. Thank you for being here this morning. All right. So when the first thing you have to learn is when you make a payment, part of your payment is principal and the other part of the payment is interest. What does that mean? The principal is the amount of money that you borrowed. That's the principal. And you pay interest to the lender for borrowing the principal. So every payment you make, some is accounted principal, some is accounted interest. Now, here is when you're signing this loan, here's some of the information you need to go over. All right. On a $400,000 loan at 6.5%, here is how much interest that these institutions want you to pay on this loan. And this is what makes it attractive to investors. $510,000 in interest. $510,000. Okay. I need listen, if you want to learn, you will learn more if you come up to the stage. All right. If you're in a Clubhouse, you can learn more by being on the stage and asking good questions. I guarantee you that anything that you ask, this is a safe space. This is a place of learning. And if you're watching us online, ask your questions in the chat. This is a place of learning. So okay, good. Come on up. All right. So we're going to invite you up, invite to speak. And Ken, we're going to make you a moderator so that you can help to do this. Enchanted, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
All right. All right. So where are you listening from?
California.
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 That's not a California accent.
I know, right? No, it's really, really early for me. So please forgive me. I have morning voice. So.
Listen, I want you to know that if you have any questions about how lending actually works, this is the place to learn. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. And if you can, bring up your iPad or your computer and go to YouTube and and watch the examples, because you definitely want to see the numbers. Okay. So now let's get back to this. Let's get back to this. And anybody else who wants to come up, raise your hand, come up, be ready for your questions. All right. $510,000. 500. Wait a second. I got a buzz in my microphone. There we go. $510,000. The bank wants, all right, the institutions want you to pay in order to borrow this money. All right. You borrow 400,000, but they want you to pay 510,000 on top of the $400,000 that you borrowed, meaning they want you to pay back $910,000. So if your house is worth $400,000, do you want to pay nearly $1 million for a $400,000 house? Does anybody want to do that? Why do we do that? The reason why we do that, because most of us cannot afford to pay cash. We can't, listen, you can't save up enough money in time to raise a family in a house, all right? Especially in California. Listen, in California, tell me if I'm telling the truth, Juanita. 400,000 buys the shed behind your house. Is that about right in California?
Oh that, I mean, it's unfortunate, but yeah, you're not going to be in the major cities. You're going to be in communities that you feel like. For instance, I'm in the desert, like extremely far away from LA or Hollywood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, that's where you'll be. And yeah, if you're in, let's say downtown Los Angeles, oh yeah, it's like a shed, or a garage, an ADU.
There you go.
So,
all right, auxiliary dwelling unit, ADU. Thank you for that. So what we're talking about, folks, is if you want to borrow this money, learn how to borrow money at a discount, because the people who buy your mortgage are counting on the fact that you don't know how to borrow money at a discount. And it is not before you close on the loan that you make all your deals on this. People say, okay, let me get the lowest interest rate available. Let me lower the term. Let me buy down the rate. Let me tell you something. That's what you're told up front, because it doesn't really affect how much money the investors will make. What they really are afraid of is you learning how to prepay this loan, okay, and what it means to prepay. Now, when this loan goes out, okay, let me get rid of this advertising. When this loan goes out, when you make your total payment of $2,528.27, that's the principal and interest added together. That does not include taxes and insurance. We're not including taxes and insurance in these examples today. Okay. Here we are. Out of that money, only $361.60 is applied to principal. The rest goes to interest. Now, I need you to understand this. The entities, the people or businesses that invest in mortgage-backed securities, you pay the entire payment to them. Okay. It is not that they get $361.60 and $2,000 goes somewhere else. No, the investor gets the whole payment. They get the whole $2,528.27. But you need to pay back this loan of $400,000. But the way the thing is constructed is out of your payment, only this much, $361.60, counts towards paying back the loan. The rest is discounted so that the entity, the business, or the people that invested in the loan, you have to pay them many more times to pay back what you owe, when so little of the money that you just paid gets accounted to principal balance, your principal balance. So if you borrow $400,000, $361 goes to principal. That leaves you with a balance of $399,638.40. Now I need you to see what just happened, and I need you to tell me what you guys think about this, okay? Come on in, come to the stage. I see you here, Juliet, with your ticket on, which means this is probably the first time you've been in the room. Go ahead and join the mortgage syndicate so that you can get more information like this, okay? Right. If you are watching us online, go ahead and follow us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. All right, do that as well. Here's what's happening. I have to put a calculator on the screen. Okay. Your first interest payment here, using the formula that amortizes this loan. All right. Let me put the formula up. Okay. So you guys can see it. Okay. Amortization formula. All right. Let me click on this, the amortization formula. There it is. This is the formula that amortizes your loan. This is the very formula that investors find so attractive about these loans, and why they invest over here. Okay. Now there is a problem with this with this formula. And the problem is, it's twofold. Number one, it makes a lot of money for the investors. The second problem is, it has a huge weakness embedded in this formula. And you, me and you, we're never supposed to know what the weakness is. We're never supposed to know how this thing works, because the number one thing that investors are afraid of when it comes to investing in mortgage-backed securities, it is not default on the loan. It is not the fact that you will default on your loans. Most loans never get defaulted on. So they are secure in investing in these properties. They're secure in that. What they are afraid of is you learning how to prepay these loans. Pay money when they're not expecting it. It disrupts their ability to make money on these loans. Okay. I have Chris here that's watching us on YouTube. Okay. Chris, what are you saying here? Okay. What does Chris say? All right. Let me see. At which interest rate does the home equity line to make sense if your first mortgage position is 2.75? Okay. So Karen, first of all, Chris, your interest rate really doesn't matter. It's the interest cost that matters, and how you can manipulate the interest cost. I'm going to show you some things on how you can manipulate interest cost, and how many variables there are to know. Here's the other thing you guys need to know. There is no one rule of thumb, one rule that's going to fit every situation. Every situation is different. That is the first thing that you need to understand about these loans. It is way more complicated than it has been told to you. And I'm not just saying that so that you guys will have to come to the P.I.L.L method to understand how these loans works and how the loans work and how to beat the bank at their own game. I'm telling you this because it is important to know. Anyone who gives you a plan to pay off the debt must show you your own numbers and how the situation applies to you. There is no one thing that everybody can do the same thing and end up on top. It all depends on what you're actually doing in your financial footprint. How much money do you make? What are your bills? What is your loan? What is your interest rate? What are you investing in? All of these things matter when it comes to understanding interest cost as opposed to interest rate and what to do about it. This thing is all about interest cost, but we're taught to focus only on interest rate, Chris. All right. That's what we're taught to focus on. So let's get back to why this formula is so destructive when you don't understand it, and how it can be your best friend. This same formula can be your best friend when you know how it works. Okay. So let's go back to this loan. All right. And see what's going on here. Okay. So now we're going to take a look at the first interest payment and why people who invest in mortgage-backed securities love this. Let's put our calculator back on the screen. Okay, there it is. Our first interest payment is $2,166.67. I'm also going to get into how they come up with this number as well. So when you take that number and you divide it by your full payment of, divided by your payment of $2,528.27. This is what you get. 0.856, which means 86% of your payment is interest. So when you make your first payment to this loan, 86% of your payment is discounted so that only a small portion, okay? So if your whole loan is 100%, okay? And 86% of it is discounted, all right? That means 24% of your payment pays back the loan. 86% doesn't count. Look at it that way. 86% of your payment does not count when you make your payment, and only 24% of the payment counts. Now, why is that important to investors? Because they get the whole 25, 28. Okay. And the way that this is amortized is that 86% of it is discounted. Look at it this way. You have a swimming pool and you're trying to fill up the swimming pool and you're using a bucket instead of a hose. Okay. And you fill up your bucket and you take it over to the swimming pool and you dump it in. But by the time you get to the pool, 86% of the water has leaked out. And you're only putting 24% of what you had in the bucket into the pool. Only 24% goes in. So how many more trips do you have to make to the swimming pool to fill it up? Okay. You have to fill up you have to fill up your loan of $400,000 to fill up that loan. So you have a loan deficit. And as you have that loan deficit, now you're trying to fill up that loan, all right, to get it back to $400,000 so that you'll be done paying off the loan. But look at this. Because of that formula, your loan is discounted by over 80%. So only 24% of the money keeps going to the loan. Okay? Only 24%. So you're paying back the loan at $300 payments out of your $2,500 payment, And if I was an investor, I would be looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, I love this, because in the first year, this person who's paying back this loan to me because I'm an investor, they're going to pay out over $30,000 in the first year. Okay. In the first year, if you add up all the principal payments, it comes to $4,470.86. We're looking at the cumulative principal line. If you're new to the room, go to YouTube, go to the link that's in the chat so you can see these numbers. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody corrected me. It's let's see here. 1886 and 14%. I'm sorry, it's 14%. You're right. Okay. Let me see here. Yeah, 14%. 86% goes to the bank. 14%, I said 24%, I'm sorry. 14% goes to you out of your payment. Thank you very much for that. 14%. How much? Okay, so Brandon Johnson has a question here. Okay, says, how much do the investor pay for the note? Oh, when an investor buys the note, okay, they're buying it at a premium. So your bank or your credit union or your bank or your mortgage company, all right, they process the loan, all right, and if they process it for $400,000, okay, they need to get their money back. So how do they make money? When the investor buys it, they pay more than the $400,000. If they didn't, then the banks couldn't make money on it. So the bank pays $400,000 to either the builder or to the person that's selling the house, $400,000, but the bank needs to get their money back from the investor. But how does the bank make money? They pay more than the $400,000. I don't know how much that is. That's between them and the bank. But so the investor doesn't really care, because 9 out of 10 people will never pay off a mortgage. 9 out of 10 people will never pay one off. So when they're looking at, here's what they're looking at. This is what makes their mouth water. I'm going to buy this loan. I'm going to buy it from the bank, but over the next 30 years, I stand to make $510,000 in interest. What does that mean? That means that if I buy this, I'm going to make 127.544% on this loan. That's what makes it so attractive to investors. That's what it is. Thank you, Bob. Listen, Bob, sometimes I go so fast that I misspeak. Okay, it's not 24%, it's 14%. It's even worse than I thought. This thing says they're paying their loan back with 14% of their money. Okay, now why is that? So what we're going to do is figure out how the bank does this. So investors do this. So if 86% of your money is discounted, that means only 14% of your money is paying back the loan. So watch this. 6.5% is the interest rate. So put into your calculator 0.065. 0.065. We're going to put that in the calculator. We're going to divide that by 12. Okay. And this is the number that you get, 0.00541, a bunch of sixes and a 7 at the end. This is the number that they use every single month. That's the number. 1/12 of the interest rate. multiplied by the balance. And when you multiply this number by $400,000, you get $2,166.666. So you have to round this second six up to a 7. $2,166.67. And look at the first interest payment right there. That's how they do it. And then when out of your payment, then that only leaves $361.60 to pay back the loan. Now you owe $399,638.40. All right. And now what happens? You're going to take your calculator again, put in your 0.065%, divided by 12. And now you're going to multiply it by this new balance of $399,638.40. So now we're going to multiply by 399,638.40. There we go. Look at this. 2164.70. Okay. 1, because this 8, because this is an 8, we round this 0 up to a 1. 2,164.71. And look here on line 2, 2,164.71. Every single month you get a new loan. So it is not, first thing you need to know about this mortgage, it's not one mortgage. The way that they set it up, and if you follow their plan, it's 360 separate mortgages, because each month they hit you with 1/12 of the interest rate to discount your payment. So you say you're paying interest and you're paying principal. In reality, your payment is actually discounted by that much, by over 80%. So only 14% of your payment counts towards paying back the loan. That's why investors like it. So if you were a real estate investor, one strategy is for you to be the bank. One strategy is you could be the bank, meaning you could lend the money yourself. I own the house, so I'm going to say you pay me instead of the bank. Okay, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to be your banker. So when we do this, if you were the banker, all right, if you were getting the money, they would have to pay you the whole $2,528.27. Once they do that, then you would be able to discount the payment by 87%, 86%, and only 14% of their payment would count towards paying back the loan. But that means they have to pay you 360 times to get enough money to satisfy the debt. Now, that is the whole basis of how these things make a lot of money. But in there lies the weakness. All right. Any questions so far about what we have here? All right. Any questions? Any comments? Because now we're getting ready to get in here and see why investors are so afraid of you learning how this works. Prepayment of principal is not just paying more than the minimum payment. It's way more than that. Because when you pay more than the minimum payment, you disrupt the investor's ability to make money on this loan. You can save at the same rate you're being charged. Okay. Let's see. How how do the investors receive payments? When you make your payment, Brandon Jackson just asked a question. How do investors receive their payments? When you make your payment, it goes to the investor. When you make your payment, it goes to the people who own. Now, listen, let's say you have your loan with Bank of America or Regions or Chase. I challenge you, call Chase, call Regions, call Bank of America, call them, all right? Call the loan department and ask them who actually owns my mortgage. You see, they may be processing the payments for them, but somebody else, 9 times out of 10, somebody else owns that loan. And Bank of America is now acting like the clearinghouse or managing the loan, and they get a fee for that. Okay. You may make your payment to Bank of America or to Chase, but the money gets sent to the investor. How much of the money gets sent to the investor? All $2,528.27 is paid out, okay, to the investor, but only 14% goes to satisfy the loan. That is what makes it so attractive to investors. Okay? Thank you, Brandon, for your question. Now, here's why there's a weakness in this. Every single month, they take 1/12 of the interest rate and multiply it by the unpaid balance. What if you were able to manipulate how much money would go to principal? What if you could manipulate that and make sure that the bank sees a different number than they were expecting? Okay, so let me do let's put in here. I want to, let's see, we had amortization formula in here. Let's put in prepayment of principal. All right, we're going to prepayment of principal on a mortgage. We'll put that in to, okay, what does that look like? Okay, let's see, prepayment of principal. Let's just do that and search, do a quick search. Okay, there it is. Now I need you to see this. When you prepay your mortgage, you pay extra towards the loan principal to help pay off your loan sooner and to save money on interest. Okay. Now let's see if I can find prepayment, the definition of that. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for what it says on your loan. Okay, I can't find that. But anyway, when you prepay principal, meaning I give the bank money before they're expecting it, before the next payment is due. I make a payment, and then I make a payment. I give the bank money before the next payment is due. That's called prepayment. So when I prepay, all of the money goes to principal. All of it. 100% of the money goes to principal. None of that money is discounted because I'm paying it when they're not expecting it. Let me go back and help you to understand what that means. I'm paying it when they're not expecting it. Go to YouTube. Make sure you're watching this now. Okay. I'm going to use these numbers that are on the screen. You can prepay a penny if you wanted to. You could prepay $1. You could prepay $10,000 if you want to. I'm just using the numbers on the screen because it makes it simpler and we don't have to do a lot of math. It's right here on the screen. Okay. So if I make this first payment, now my next payment is based on taking 1/12 of the interest rate and multiplying it by the $399,638.40 I see on the first line of my amortization schedule. But let's take a look at, let's say this is January. I made my January payment. Now, my February interest payment would be $2,164.71, which is less than the month before, which means that extra money would go over to the principal side. So every month I pay a little more principal and a little less interest, but the payment remains the same. So now my February principal payment would be $363.56. Okay. I need you to understand this. Listen very closely. You don't have to wait to February to give the bank that money. What if you had exactly $363.56 and you decided, I want to give that to the bank early? I want to give it to the bank before they are expecting it. If you give this to the bank early, they have to subtract it from what you owe, all of it, 100% of it. And so now you're paid down to line 2 in January. You owe now $399,274.84. So instead of seeing line 1 in January, they see line 2 in January. And now we have to figure interest on the $399,274. So we take 0.065. Delete that. 0.65. Okay. We divide that number by 12. Divided by 12. And we take this number, and now we're multiplying it by what we see on line 2, the $399,274.84. When we multiply it by that, $399,274.84, it equals 2,162.74, because this third number is an 8, we round this second number up to a 4. 2,162.74. That is the interest payment on line 3. Okay, so we made our payment on line 1. We gave the bank $363.56 when they weren't expecting it. That paid us down to line 2. And our next interest payment then would be on line 3. So this becomes our new February payment. The way this is set up for you to advance your amortization schedule, for you to advance from one month to the next, is set up so that you have to pay each month $2,528.72 to advance. If you make every payment on time, you advance this loan each month by giving them over $2,500. You just advanced from payment number 1 to payment number 3 for only $363.56. So you just completely wiped out line 2 on your amortization schedule. Payment number 1 is now touching payment number 3, and all you did was give them $363.56 when they weren't looking for it. Now, since they weren't able to discount anything, guess what? You just saved that money. Look at it this way. It costs over $2,000 every time you pay on time. It costs $2,000, $2,100 of your money that doesn't count for you. But when you give them money early, that means you don't have to give them the $2,164 they were hoping to get. Let's see if we can understand it a different way. The amount of money that they were supposed to get, they were looking for, was $510,177. By giving them that money early, you just reduced this amount of money that they will be able to receive by $2,164.71. That's why they are so afraid of prepayment, because this amount of money saves you a ton of interest. A small amount of money So let's take a look at what that means to us. If I save $2,164.71 that I don't have to pay the bank because I paid them principal of $363.56 early, okay? So let's divide this by $363.56 early equals that, and we multiply that by 100. I'm figuring out ROI, return on your investment. That's 595% return on your money. By paying $363.56 saves you $2,164.71 you never need to pay. That means you just got a 595% return on that money. You got that equity. Every time you give the bank money, you create equity. They want you to create equity every month, but it costs you $2,100, over $2,100 to create this equity. You just got this equity for free if you pay it ahead of time. Okay, so we have another question here from somebody who's watching us on YouTube. It says, do you have to let them know you want that to go towards principal? Okay, and it's principal, and it's this kind of principal is spelled P.A.L. Okay, principal. Yes, if you escrow, you have to tell them you want it to go towards principal. Now, there are several ways to do that, and it's very easy these days. You can go to your website, your mortgage website, and there should be a line there that says principal payments. You can do only principal payments here. So you would just go to that line and put the amount of money that you want to prepay there. And then that is letting them know. If you're sending a check in and you escrow, meaning your taxes and insurance and your PMI, if you pay PMI, private mortgage insurance, that is the amount of money that's added onto your mortgage payment so that they can save it for you and pay your mortgage insurance for you, pay your taxes for you, and pay your taxes and insurance, and your private mortgage insurance. So they'll pay it for you if you add it to your payment. If you are escrowing, then most banks default. Okay, I'm answering your question here. Most banks default to if you don't know, if you don't let them know, if you send them a check and you didn't tell them where to put that money, it automatically goes to your account setup, to your escrow account. It automatically goes there, and it doesn't get counted towards your principal. Now, it doesn't have to stay there. You can give them a call and say, listen, you know that extra money I sent you that ended up in my escrow account? I really wanted that money to go to principal. And they'll do it for you. Okay? It's as simple as that. So just remember, if you send them a check, make sure you call your institution. Okay? Don't assume everybody does it the same way. That all you have to do is put a note in with the check or write it in the memo section, apply to principal only. That doesn't matter if that is not their rule. Okay, banks can do whatever they want. So you need to inform them the way they need to be informed. So, but if you don't escrow, if you pay your taxes and insurance on your own, then you do not. If you don't escrow, you don't have to inform anything, or you don't have to tell them anything, because the only place that money can go is to principal. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Thank you for your question. Okay. Any other questions? All right. And I'm not seeing any other questions. All right. So here is why we teach prepayment of principal. You need to know how much money you're saving when you prepay. People tell me all the time, and some people even attack the P.I.L.L method with questions like, why are you making such a big deal out of this? All they're doing is giving the bank more money. If you want to pay off your loan, you could do biweekly payments. You can give the bank money early anytime you want. But here's the thing. All right. They don't know when you prepay any old amount, you don't know how much money you're actually saving because they don't tell you. No. Have you ever received a notice from any bank or any credit union, any mortgage company, any credit card company? You paid us extra. Here's how much interest you just saved with that one payment. They never tell you. And you know what's worse? I mean, and this is very bad. You know what's worse? It never even occurred to us to even ask how much interest we saved. We just give them money knowing that we're going to be paid off early, but we don't know how early now. Knowing that we saved interest, but we don't know how much interest. We just give them any old amount of money. How can you put a strategic plan together if you do not know how much interest you're saving when you prepay? The next step in learning how to prepay is knowing that how much interest you can save. The step after that is, can I actually know how much interest I'm saving per dollar? Yes, you can. You can know how much interest you're saving per dollar applied. Okay. So if I prepay this $363.56 and I'm saving $2,164.71, okay, then all I have to do is take my $2,164.71 and divide and 71 cents and divide it by what I prepaid. Okay, so I'm going to divide it by 363.56. And how much am I saving? $5.95. Listen, what did you just find out? For every dollar, you just saved $5.95 in interest for every dollar applied. Now you can begin to put together a formula. Our program is designed so that you can save the maximum amount of money per dollar. It matters how much you pay. It matters what month you pay it in. It matters which loan you pay it to, so that you can save the maximum amount of interest per dollar. And once you know that, listen to me closely when I say this, you can actually pay too much at the wrong time and hurt yourself. Yes, it's called, when we do that, it's called violating the law of violating the law of diminished return. You do not want to diminish your returns by paying too much at the wrong time. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, let's use this as an example. I need you to take a look at the column cumulative principal and cumulative interest. I need you to take a look at those two columns. You will not get this from your bank. Somebody is probably going to ask me, now, can I call my bank and get an amortization schedule? Yeah, you can get it maybe 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months later, but then it's no good anymore. Okay. All right. Make your own. Okay. This is from Brett Whistle. Okay. I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay. Brett Whistle, Brett This is the guy's name. Whissel. Okay. Google his name, Brett Whistle. He's the one who created this. This is a tool I use to teach. This is not my program. Okay. BrettWhistle.net. You can create your own amortization schedule at any time. Every time you prepay, if you give them money when they're not expecting it, you actually destroy an amortization schedule and you need a new one from that point on. Because this is very specific based on you paying once a month when they tell you to pay, and that keeps you on schedule. Pay 1 penny more than you're supposed to, it ruins this schedule. These numbers are now all off, and you need a new schedule. So trying to do this from an amortization schedule, practically impossible if you want to save the maximum amount of interest per dollar. So let's take a look at cumulative principal here for line 12. If you pay the bank the way they want to be paid, this is how much money gets. This is about 14% of the money paid out going to principal. This is about 86% of your money that got paid out. $25,868.38. That is the amount of money that goes to the interest side of the ledger. This is how much money goes to the principal side of the ledger in the first year. You add them together, and it is over $30,000. Okay, $31,000 in the first year paid out. But because of discounting, only $4,470.86 pays back the loan. Okay, the rest is discounted. So if I wanted to, let's take a look at what would happen if I prepaid $4,470.86 on line 1. Okay, now I'm going to put $400,000 in this calculator. 400,000. We're going to subtract 4470 and 86 cents equals 395,529.14. That's exactly what I have here. I can get to this number by giving them $300 payments for 12 months in a row, all 12 of these payments. Or I can get there by giving them 4470.86 on line 1 and getting there in 1 month. I'm not saying that's what you have to do. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm saying if you did that, you could be paid down to here in 1 month, which means you skip a ton of interest between line 2 and line 12. That's interest payments you never have to make. So if we can figure out how much interest we can save if we prepay an entire year, now we have a number we can use to figure out how to save the most money per dollar. So I'm going to scroll down so we can see 2 lines at once. So let's say you have plenty of money. Let's say you have plenty of money, and I need you guys to put something in the chat. I need you to listen and put something in the chat for me. Okay? Put something in the chat for me. If you could save, if you have plenty of money in the bank and you could pay $4,470.86, if you could prepay that and save $25,000, okay, and knock off 1 year, what if you had enough money to prepay line 24, $9,241.15, and save $51,000? Okay, look at that. What if you could do that? Okay, I need you to put it in the chat. Which one would you choose? Line 12 or line 24? If you could prepay line 12, $44.86, and save $25,000 in interest, which line would you say? Which one would you choose? 20 or pay $9,241.15 and save $51,000 in interest? Juanita Scott says 24. She's putting that right online. She would do 24. Okay. And then this other person says, I would do line 24 if I had plenty of money. I'd knock off 2 years. I save $51,000 in interest. All right. And that is very enticing. I need to show you something. This is another reason why investors love this formula. I'm going to show you why they love it. So we're going to take, put this on our screen. Okay. The first amount of interest is $25,868 and 38 cents. We're going to prepay the 4470.86. Okay. So we're going to divide it by 4470.86 equals 5.785 or $505.79. $5.79. Do you realize at this level, for every dollar you give the bank here, it saves you $5.79 worth of interest you never need to pay? Has anybody ever pointed that out to you? That $1 sitting in a piggy bank is actually worth $5.79 when you prepay it to a mortgage? That is crazy. Okay. So $2 doubles that. If I do $4,470.86, it saves me $25,000 in interest. That is huge. This is why investors don't want you to know this. If you give an investor who owns this loan this much money ahead of time, you just beat them out of $25,000. They won't get that. That's why they don't want you to know this. That's why it's not taught. Listen, have I taught you anything today? Have I taught you anything today that you couldn't have learned in 8th grade? Okay, Dwayne wants to come to the stage. Dwayne, I'm bringing you up. I don't always see it right away. So if you're hearing this, Dwayne, come on up. We just tried to invite you up. Okay, Ken, let's see if we can get Dwayne to come up. He raised his hand. Okay, so that is why they don't like it. If you have $4,000 sitting somewhere and you can prepay it, that means the investor that has this loan will not receive from you $25,000. You just reduce how much interest they could make by $25,000. Do you see why they don't want you to know this? This is the whole reason why it's not taught in junior high school. Does this make sense to you guys? Okay, Dwayne just says, keep teaching that. He's loving it. Okay, Dwayne, come on up to the stage, man. Talk to me. I know, listen, I know some of you guys are at work and you're kind of listening, or you may be driving and you're listening. I get that. But listen, I love it when people come to the stage and talk. I really do. Okay, Dwayne's at work. Doggone it, Dwayne. He's got his earbuds in. He's got his earbuds in and he's getting this. All right. I need you to go and make sure you watch this when you have time, Dwayne, and everybody else who's getting this. Watch it again. Send it out to your friends. Send it to your mortgage company. Send it to your real estate agent. Send it to your family. Get the link and send it out. All right. I need you to share this with everybody. Go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Okay. So that people can know this. So now we're saving $5.79 per dollar. That's huge. And now we're going to do the same thing for line 24. We're going to do the same thing for line 24. Watch this. We're going to prepay. Look at that. And save $51,000. $51,000. Okay. All right, look at this. So we're going to put this on the screen. I'm trying to show you why real estate investors love to invest here. Okay. So if we're going to say 51,000, okay, 51,000. Uh-oh, I didn't write down. Oh, I did write it down. 579. Okay. 51,000 for 37. Okay. 0.33. Okay. If we prepaid $9,000, 9,241.15. So we're going to divide that by 9,241.15. Oh, delete 15. There we go. All right. Equals $5.57. What? I'm saving $5.57 per dollar when before I was saving $5.79 per dollar. So if I can save $5.79 per dollar, should I ever accept saving $5.57 per dollar? What do you guys think? Yes or no? If I can save $5.79 for every dollar I have, should I ever accept saving $5.56 or 57 cents per dollar? Listen, that is, here's what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. If I can make for my dollar 5.79, I don't want to make $5.56 for my dollar. Let me ask it this way. Remember when years ago, okay, when we were only making $5 an hour, if you were making if somebody was making $5.79 an hour and you were doing the same job, would you want to make $5.56 an hour? Not that much difference. No, you would feel bad about that. Why are they making $5.79 and I'm only making $5.76? Every time you give the bank money, you are saving interest, and you need to know how much interest you are saving per dollar. It sets you up for the next payment. It sets you up for the next time you can save money when you're saving the most per dollar. You need to know how much you need to pay and when to pay it. Now, that's going to be next week. Isolating the principal amount. Let me put that on the screen for you. Okay. Isolating the principal amount. Let's put that on the screen. All right. Next week, this is what we're going to be talking about. Isolation of principal. Okay. P.I.L.L method presents isolating the principal amount. That's next week. This is very powerful as well. How much should I pay? And when should I pay it? How much should I pay? And when should I? Let's see here. I want to do this. All right. Let me take this off. I'm going to take this off for a second. How much should I pay and when should I pay it? That's isolating the principal amount. This is why we created the P.I.L.L method. It's not just any old amount and saving any old amount of money. I want to save the maximum I can save per dollar. So how is it figured out? How much should I pay? How much should my business pay? When I have a debt on my church, how much should my church pay at any given time to save the most in interest we possibly can? There is a point at which more is too much. There's also a point where you should stop prepaying this loan. You don't keep prepaying until you pay it all off. You prepay to a certain point and then you stop. Because every time you prepay, you're saving a certain amount of interest per dollar, right? Yes. So what happens when you get the loan paid down far enough and you prepay a certain amount of money and the money you save isn't as much as the money you could make if you were to invest that same amount of money? Think about that for a minute. Now we're getting into opportunity cost. So next week, we're going to get into, next Wednesday, going to be back here live, okay, talking about prepaying the right amount of money and when, and how is that figured out? And listen, there's a ton of math in all of that. Oh my gosh. It is not simple by any stretch of the imagination. Our program makes it simple to do, but the amount of math that it takes to come up with that simple thing to do is more than the human mind can calculate. Okay? There's over every single day, this program of ours has to calculate over 6 million different calculations to come up with the instructions that you need to follow to save the maximum amount of interest per dollar. Most people don't know that. Most people don't know that. And that's why it takes us so long to pay off debt. And if you don't know isolating the principal amount, which we're going to get to next week, if you don't know that, you're liable to, you will pay the wrong amount of money at the wrong time, in the wrong month, to the wrong loan, because the average family has 13 different debts. You know, you need to have a strategic plan to pay the debt off in a way that saves you the most interest. And I guarantee you, it's not the snowball method and it's not the avalanche method. You're going to pay way more interest doing that. You want the interest cancellation method. That's why they call me ICE, because I'm the interest cancellation expert. Okay. So I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to get something. I'm going to get a little bit of water, to drink, take a quick break. Okay. And when I take this break, let's see here. We're going to hear from, let's hear from Dr. Eric Thomas. And the reason why, even people who have funds, even people who have money, Eric Thomas, he gets paid like from corporations, like $150,000 an hour to speak to them. Oh my gosh. I didn't, I even hired him to come speak to a conference in Nashville. Okay. I didn't have to pay that much, but it was pretty hefty. Okay. So I need you to hear from him and why it is important. And we'll get back in just about a minute.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
Okay, folks, I'm back. All right, I'm back. I have some, Kim Chrisman is in here right now. I see that she's a realtor. Listen, I should have a bunch of realtors asking me questions. Prepayment of principal. Why is this important? Okay. And why should every realtor be able to understand the basics of prepayment of principal so that they can save their clients even more money? Number one, there are certain things that you can do that are easy to do when you understand prepayment of principal, why you would teach your clients this so that they can keep from making huge mistakes. Okay. So Kim, please ask me some questions. If you're a realtor in here, if you sell real estate, you need to understand prepayment of principal. You really, really do. Okay. So I'm going to put this back on this. I'm going to put this back on the screen. Okay. And let's see here. We need this one. Okay, there we go. All right. So I'm going to put this back on the screen and show you some things with this same mortgage, why you don't want to do certain things and how you can save your clients money. Now, what if your client had an extra $100,000, Kim, right? Or any other real estate agent in here. What if your client had an extra $100,000 and they said, you know what? Why don't I put that as a down payment on my loan? Why don't I do that? You could show them something using Brett Whistle because you understand prepayment of principal. This is why real estate investors don't want you to know, because you never, ever, 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 ever make a large down payment on a loan, ever. And let me show you why you don't do it. Okay, let me show you why. Let me get this off here. Okay, so I've got a $400,000 loan. We're going to duplicate this tab, and we're going to change this to 300,000. Okay, because they could have. Let's see here. We're going to delete that. All right, there we go. 300,000. Let me get rid of the advertising here. You know, this is why he gives it to us for free, because people advertise on this thing, and that's what pays them to put it up. But it's distracting to me. So a $300,000 loan. Look at the payment: $1,896.20. And we go back to the 400,000. Look, it's 25.28.27. So when I'm talking to clients, I'm asking them, can you afford this payment? Okay. You need to make sure the payment is no more than 30 to 35% of your income. Make sure your payment is there, so you're not putting yourself in danger of foreclosure by making your payment too large. Okay. So if this payment is within the budget, I counsel my clients not to do this. Don't get the $300,000 payment, even though the payment is less. Okay. Even though the amount of interest that the bank is looking for overall for 30 years is $382,000. Okay. Instead of $510,000. Okay. Now, why do that? Why do that? Here's why. If I can afford the payment, I want this $400,000 loan. If I get the $400,000 loan, do I still have my $100,000 because I didn't give it as a down payment? I didn't give it as a down payment. I didn't do that. I still have my $100,000, don't I? Well, let's just say these folks don't know anything about the P.I.L.L method. Okay. All they know is I have an extra $100,000. I want to save money on interest. I want to go ahead and put it down as a down payment. Okay. So if they were going to do that anyway, why not do this? To get a $300,000 loan, you're starting out at payment number 1. Your principal payment is here. Okay. $271.20, $272.67, and your interest payment is $1,600. Now, remember this. If you want to control this loan, control the principal payment and you control the loan. Interest payments you skip don't matter. Okay. So I'm taking the $400,000 loan. Now, what if I had the $400,000 loan and I still had my $100,000? Could I apply the $100,000 to principal? Yes or no? Put it in the chat right now. Put in the chat right now. If I had the $400,000 loan and I had intended to put it down as my $100,000 as a down payment so I can get a $300,000 loan, can I apply the $100,000 to principal if I decide to take the $400,000 loan? Okay. Jatanya Thompson says yes. Okay. Okay, Chitanya, where are you watching this? Where are you watching this from? What city are you watching this from, Chitanya? Okay. She says yes, she can do that. Okay. Let me see what it says here in Clubhouse. All right. All right, guys. I need you all to participate in this thing. Okay, because you're getting this for free. I'm not asking you to do a whole lot here. Okay. So, all right. Ken says, yes, you could do that. Juanita says, there's a steep down payment penalty on investment property I own. Is there a way around that? Yes, Juanita, there is a way around that. All right. And I'm going to cover that right now for you. Okay. You need to know, Juanita, two things. Okay. This is what Juanita is saying. I'm going to put it on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, because this is important. I can cover both of these with this one example. There's a steep down payment penalty or prepayment penalty on an investment property I own. Is there a way around that? Juanita, call me today. Call my business today. Okay. When you hear this. All right. My business number, just tell the people who answer the phone that you want me to call you back. That's all you have to tell them. All right. Make sure they get the number and we'll talk about it. 256 is my number. 256-886-1867. I'm putting that in there. Okay. 256-886-1867. I'm also putting it here in Clubhouse. All right. 256. This is good stuff. All right. 886-1867. There it is. All right. So here's what Juanita wants to know. Two things you need to know, Juanita. If you prepay, how much is the penalty for the amount prepaid? That's number one. How much does it cost you to prepay? The second thing is, how much interest do you save if you do? How much interest do you save if you do prepay? Let me show you what would happen if these folks prepay. We're going to take a look at cumulative principal and cumulative interest. Prepayment penalties are designed to scare us into making every single payment because we don't know how much interest we could save if we prepay. Ha! Oh my gosh. So I'm going to remove the fear from this, Miss Juanita. I'm going to remove the fear from this. Okay, let's do it. Let's do this. Watch this. I'm going to make my very first payment here in January, and I'm going to give them the $100,000 as a principal prepayment right now. Watch this. We're going to scroll down, and now we're going to look at cumulative principal, the third column here. We're going to scroll down till we hit $100,000 on this loan. This is a $400,000 mortgage. I've already closed on it. And now I'm going to give the bank $100,000 as a prepayment instead of a down payment. Look at this. 170 payments I've just knocked off. And Juanita, I need you to see this now. How much interest did these folks just save? $329,000. I guarantee you the prepayment penalty on this, if there was one, isn't even close to this. Not even close. Let me tell you a little story, Juanita, because everybody needs to know this. I did this for a couple in Canada because there are prepayment penalties even on residential properties in Canada. I showed them how to save $100,000 in interest by prepaying. We went to the bank's website because in Canada, on the bank's website, you can calculate your prepayment penalty. I showed them how to save $100,000 in interest. The prepayment penalty was $1,200. What do you think they did, Juanita? Do you think they saved the $100,000 in interest and paid the $1,200 prepayment payment penalty? You better believe they did, because now they have both numbers to compare. How much is it going to cost me to prepay? How much interest am I saving if I do prepay? Oh my gosh, you are going to see how this works and you are going to absolutely love it. Juanita says she's watching. Juanita, does that make sense to you? Why it is so scary to see prepayment penalty? Because all it is designed to do is have us avoid. and never do the math. Once we do the math, all I'm asking now is how much does it cost me to prepay and how much am I going to save? And is it worth it? Oh my gosh. About 10 times out of 10 is worth it. I'm just saying, Juanita. She said, that's amazing. Absolutely, we should know that. We should know that. Now, here's the other thing, folks. Here's the other thing. These folks wanted, for whatever reason, a $300,000 mortgage. They wanted a $300,000 mortgage instead of a $100,000 mortgage. But here's what happened. If they prepay this $100,000, do they still have a $300,000 mortgage over here? Look at this. $299,520. It's essentially there's a $300,000 mortgage. But they start out on payment number 170 instead of payment number 1. What does that mean? Put our calculator on the screen. 170 payments they just knocked off, divided by 12. They just knocked off over 14 years off this mortgage. Listen, if they don't do anything else, if they just make minimum payments from now on, they just knocked 14 years off a 30-year mortgage by prepaying $100,000. What do you think of that, Juanita? Oh, my goodness. Kim Christmas online says, outstanding, Don. Wowza. What if you could tell your clients that, Kim? What if you could tell your client that? Don't down pay, prepay. And all you have to do is bring up Brett Whistle on the screen and show them what they would say, and say, listen, let's say it's a conventional loan, Kim. Okay. Well, let's say it's a conventional loan. This is what Kim says. Oh, let me put this on the screen. I love this. Okay. I love it when people participate. Okay. Listen, if you tell your client this and they decide they want to do this and they say, well, yeah, but it's a conventional loan. And if I give them 20% up front, I can avoid PMI. What do I do? What do you tell them then, Kim? What do you tell them then? Well, here's what you do. Don't make the down payment to avoid PMI. Get the whole loan, because all you have to do is get the loan down to 80% loan to value. And all you have to do is get it down to 80%. You can get it down to 80% by giving them a down payment. You can also get it down to 80% by prepaying. So here's what you do. Get the $400,000 loan, give them the $100,000, and you do have to pay PMI though, but for 1 month. What do you think about that, Kim? They can pay PMI for 1 month and then have it taken off. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? Kim says, look at this, look at this, look at this. Look at Kim says, yes, don't down pay, prepay. Tell them they can get the loan and then prepay. And then once you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you pay PMI for 1 month, but then you have to petition to have that PMI taken off, and you can, and pay PMI for 1 month. But look at the benefit you get. You knock 14 years off this loan. And not only that, but look at this. Look at this. $329,000 in interest you never have to pay. In other words, I can start here on this loan, but if I pay, let's see, that's 14 years. Listen, if I get this loan, the $300,000 loan, okay, if I get the $300,000 loan and go down 170 payments, okay, 170 payments. Look at this. I just paid the loan down by $75,000, okay, and saved $200, and it cost me $246,000 to pay it down by $75,000. It cost me $246,000 in interest to do that. Where how is that helping me? If I give the money as to the bank as a down payment, but 114 years later, I'm only here. Listen, can I show you? Can I show you something here? 14, let's go down. If I'm 170, okay, 170 payments, okay. Let's see. 170 plus 170 equals 340. Okay, watch this. 14 years from now, 14 years, if I don't do anything else, on this loan, I can go down to 314 years from now, I'll be here on my mortgage. If I don't do anything else, I'll be right here. 340 payments. This thing is only 360 payments. Okay. 40 years from now, I only have 20 payments, less than 2 years left on this mortgage. If I give them the $100,000 up front, 14 years from now, if I don't do anything else but make minimum payments on the loan, I'll only have 14 years from now, I only have less than 2 years left. Look at that. Does this make sense to anybody? I'm hoping it makes sense, because if you don't understand prepayment, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we don't understand it. It's because these loans need to look attractive to real estate investors, because the banks don't have enough money to lend out to all of their customers who want a mortgage. They need that money replenished right away so they can continue lending. So they count on the secondary market to give them their money back so that they can keep lending. But if you all knew what is happening here, Kim, let me show you something else that is quite interesting. Mortgage-backed securities. I'm going to do, look, mortgage, MOR, okay, mortgage-backed securities, okay? Managing prepayment risk. This is what they're afraid of. I need you to see this article here. One of these articles, there's a bunch of articles. If you just Google it, it's crazy. Prepayment risk of mortgage-backed securities. There are tons of articles. I'm just going to open up this one. Look at this whole thing. I'll just scroll down. And then once you get into it, they explain why you need to be able to calculate it. And look, they're putting charts and graphs. They do a ton of math in these things to show why you need to calculate prepayment risk if you're going to be an investor in this stuff. Okay. Okay. Well, let me see here. All right. Let me go back. All right. So that's one. Here's another one. Prepayment risk, the definition, right? They get into that. What is prepayment risk? Look at this. They go into a lot of explanation for people who invest in these things. Here's another one. Prepayment strategies, okay? Essentials, analysis, and investing. All right. You need to know the math. You need to know the strategies involved in all of this. Look at this formula that they use. Look at this. And they put this in here. It says, listen, you need to understand this. So if you're going to be investing as an institutional investor, you want to do this, then you need to manage prepayment risk, because somebody is going to learn that they can save a ton of money by prepaying these mortgages. But what if everybody knew? What if everybody knew? What if most people knew? Would we have a different system of lending than the one we have now, when we can easily sell these mortgages to people who buy mortgage-backed securities because we don't know how it works? Kim, now that you're here, Kim, I want to ask you a question, and by no means am I trying to be smart or trying to be offensive in any way. Here's my question. As a realtor, someone who sells real estate, to get your license, were you ever taught how an amortization schedule actually works, how mortgage loans actually work? Yes or no? We're going to wait. We're going to wait for Kim to give her answer. Okay. Were you ever taught how they actually work and how you can beat this stuff for your clients? She says no. Of course she says no. I get this answer every time. Every realtor I've ever met says the same thing. Even if they're a broker, even if they're an accountant, even if they're a financial planner, even if they are a loan officer, an MLO, mortgage loan originator, none of them are taught how it works. Why? Because if they knew this, they would be teaching it to their clients. Listen, Kim, there's a bunch you could be teaching your clients to say, listen, do business with me. I'll teach you stuff about your loan that you never thought. And how many closings have you sat in on, Kim? I want you to think about this. Kim's the only realtor that's saying anything. So there may be other realtors in here and I don't know about it. How many closings have you sat in on, right? And when they get to amortization, or when they get to how much interest you need to pay, they spend like 3 seconds on it for fear of scaring the client away from signing this loan. So they do tell them you can prepay, you can do a biweekly payment, just make one extra payment a month, and you can pay it off in about 15 years, which is a lie. Okay. The best you can do is of doing a biweekly payment is cut 7 years off. That's the best you can do. But when you're working with the P.I.L.L method, ladies and gentlemen, you can pay off these loans in about 7 years. Now, that comes in about 4 weeks. We're going to do step by step. We've done prepayment of principal here and why it is important to know prepayment. Next week, what are we going to learn? Next week, we're going to learn isolating the principal amount, how much we should pay and when. Okay? How much we should pay and when. I've been in here an hour and 42 minutes. Oh my gosh. Usually I'm in here an hour and a half. Okay? So listen, ladies and gentlemen, you want to go to ice10k.com, ice10k.com. If you have a mortgage, go to ice10k.com. Here you're going to go to, that is my business card. Thank you, Ken, for putting that up here. ICE. All right. The number 10, the letter K.com. All right. And go to my video business card. All right. One of the videos you're going to see here is that video we showed earlier. Okay. Video showed earlier with Eric Thomas. All right. Then scroll down underneath and you can say, let's connect. Go ahead and click on that. Let's connect. And that will give you my information. You can save it to your phone and then you can send me your information. And so let's connect. Let's talk. Okay. Now, so Kim is saying, I'll be back next week. Thank you, Don, from the Pacific Northwest. And for some reason, if this is still too early for you, Kim, all right, out there in Seattle area, okay, wherever you are, out the Pacific Northwest, okay, do this. Make sure you watch the replay because it's going to, listen, all of our videos are on YouTube. All of our videos are on Facebook. So, and you can watch some of the others. If you like the shorter videos, you can go to our Instagram and watch the videos there. But let's connect. But here's this next button that's important. Get your savings and earnings report. Click on that button that says get a savings and earnings report. Get your free savings and earnings report. Get a free savings and earnings report. I'll say it one more time. Get a free savings and earnings report. You can know the month, day, and year you can be debt-free and how much interest you can save, and you can get that information for free. Why wouldn't you want to know how much interest you can keep from paying the bank and when you could be out of debt on all of your debt in about 7 years? Okay. I was talking to a couple last night. They're real estate investors. I showed them how they can pay off 2 mortgages in about 5 years. Can you imagine 2 mortgages in 5 years? They got a renter in one house, okay? They're paying the mortgage on the other one, and they're going to be able to pay off both mortgages in 5 years. But because they're real estate investors, guess what they're not going to do? Guess what they're not going to do? They're not going to pay the loans all the way off. Why? They just want to get their equity 10 to 15 years sooner so they can cash out, refi, and buy more properties. Do you know how fast you could turn this money around by using small amounts of money that go straight to principal, that do not get discounted by the investors, so that you can get more property faster if you're a real estate investor? Get your savings report, ladies and gentlemen. Get your savings report and get it for free and learn how you can save interest and know when you could be debt-free or when it makes sense to cash out, refi. We're going to give you the whole setup. Coaching is involved. You get our AI system that does all of the math. I'm going to give you some idea of the math involved next week on how you can know how much to pay and when to pay it, isolating the principal amount. Out of all the monies that you have, we're going to isolate the smallest amount of money that you can pay at the right time to save the maximum amount of interest per dollar. The smallest amount of money, not the largest amount. Oh my gosh, this is such a revelation. It goes against everything we've ever been taught. You need to be broke to get out of debt because all of your money has to go to the debt. No, you don't want to pay the most. You want to pay the least. Lord have mercy, Don. You're telling us everything backwards. You better believe it's backwards. If it weren't backwards, the bank and the investors couldn't make money. But I'm going to teach you what Dave Ramsey won't teach you. I'm going to teach you what Susie Orman won't teach you. When these experts come online and talk this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, make them show you the numbers. Make them show you the numbers. They won't show you the numbers. Dave Ramsey doesn't show you the numbers. He just tells you, do this and you'll be out of debt sooner, and you will be. But what he doesn't tell you is that you'll probably pay $50,000 to $70,000 more in interest than you need to pay to do it, because his program does not look at how much interest you're actually paying or saving. He doesn't care. He just wants you to feel good about paying off the small loans. Well, the small loans are the cheapest loans. You're paying off the smaller ones first. I'm telling you, I do that. It reminds me of Jeopardy. You know, the people who make the most money on Jeopardy. Have you ever watched Jeopardy? And you know the strategy now. Instead of doing the questions that pay the least amount of money, they start with the questions that pay the most amount of money first. Because listen, if I know the answers, why do I want to start from the smallest questions and then go down? I can start at the questions that pay me the most money and work up. That's how I make the most money in Jeopardy now. Listen, these folks, they figured out a different way to do it. They're doing it backwards. Why are they doing it backwards? Because they make the most money when they do it backwards. Why are we doing it backwards here on the P.I.L.L method? All right. Strategic secrets. Thank you very much. Listen, this is what Strategic Secret says. This is hands down, okay, then the best education assistance in this topic and the best method of becoming debt-free. Thanks, Don. Thank you, Strategic Secrets, for saying that. I appreciate that. All right, listen, folks, we got to close out. Oh my gosh, I've been here for a long time. All right, I got to close out of here. I want to thank you all for being here. I've been here. I usually do just about an hour and a half, but I just got so excited about how all of this works. And if you thought this was good, if you thought prepayment of principal was good, oh my gosh, buckle your doggone seatbelts when I start talking about isolating the principal amount and learning why it is important to pay the least amount of money and not the most. It's going to blow your mind, and it's going to make the investors really mad. Okay? Well, no, not all the investors. Not even most of the investors. None of the investors are going to be upset that you learn this. Do you know why? Because we are in the mortgage matrix. Most people will never hear this. They are totally satisfied with paying mortgages and other loans the way that they have been taught their entire lives. And the people who invest in mortgages don't care about this program. Because even though we have thousands upon thousands of clients, they've got millions upon millions of people who don't hear this and will never hear this. That's why I need your help. I need your help to get this information out. You don't need to learn it to explain it. Just send them to my IG, my Instagram, so that they can watch the shorter videos, the 10-minute videos where I go over questions and answers. Or they can watch the long form videos if they like that. All right. But listen, folks, let me get this off the screen. And let's talk about, all right. Let's talk about, I gotta change. I gotta change the branding here. There we go. All right, boom. Okay, there we are. All right. So here's what we're doing. Next week, here's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to put that on the screen. Next week, here's what we're talking about. Isolation of principal amounts. Be here next week to understand why this is so important and why it is so difficult to achieve on your own. But when you have a system that is designed to do all the math for you, it makes it easy. Makes it easy. And the interest you save, and a small percentage of the interest you save, pays for this lifetime program. You can have this program for a lifetime, and it only takes a small percentage of the money you're going to save to pay for it. And you can use the thing over and over and over again for the rest of your life, for as many mortgages as you want to put through it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It is crazy how this can work for you. All right. But only certain people who can actually begin to visualize it can appreciate it. So let's be here next week. Okay. So that we can understand how all of this works. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I appreciate everybody coming in here, and I'm going to get out of Dodge. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Come back next week. But in the meantime, follow us on all of our social media. Go to ice10k.com. Go to ice10k.com. All right. I'm going to put that back on the screen one more time. Okay. Go to ice10k.com. All right. Where is it? We're going to put it here. ice10k.com. Go there. Okay. And if you scroll down on ice10k.com, you can see all of our social media. It's right there. Okay. So follow us on all of our social media and share our information with family and friends. Only those who want to know. There are a lot of people who are totally satisfied in what they're doing. Please do not think that if they saw this, it's going to change their mind. It will not. Only share this with people who are open to wanting to know something different. If they don't want to know, please don't try to force that on them. Okay? Just don't do it. Okay. So I got another comment here. I got to go back to see what's going on here. All right. Jatanya says, thank you. All right. It says, I will become the investor. That's what Brandon Jackson says. All right. So thank you. I'm going to put that on the screen. All right. Thank you for being here. Brandon says he will become the investor. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you. Let me see here. Rushdie says much appreciated. All right. And also says, thank you. This is awesome. Be back next week. Be back next week. This person says, okay, thank you. See you all next week. That is for sure, sure, sure. I'm glad that we were able to do this for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. And let me get everything together. All right. And we'll see you. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the time spent. Thank you for looking up our social media. Thank you for following and subscribing. And thank you for sharing. We'll see you now. Bye-bye.